So in this chapter, when we're looking at Jiu Jitsu techniques and what makes them succeed or fail, we're going to be focusing on the timing. So the mechanics of the technique are one of the first things we master. It's relatively quick. Sometimes you can even pick it up from a brief session with somebody who knows what they're doing. Making the technique more and more successful in live or random situations is about the refinement of two things: timing and angle. So when we're looking at the timing aspect of being successful with your jiu-jitsu techniques, what you're looking at here is that there's a precise moment, an opening that's going to be created by movement or disruption of your opponent. And it's really as small as a fraction of a second. And when you go for your technique in that moment, that's going to be your point of highest success. A well-timed technique, even a very fundamental and basic jiu-jitsu move like the arm bar, is unstoppable because it's happening at the moment of opportunity. So when you're free rolling, your focus shouldn't be so much on trying to dominate your training partner, but on trying to refine your timing to such a point where even your most basic techniques are highly successful because your body has learned to feel that moment of opportunity and go for it at that time. Now, in order to develop this refined sense of timing, you want to focus on working with really minimal struggle. What this means is, when you're going for a technique, if it hasn't succeeded within 2, at most 3 seconds, you need to change. And oftentimes you'll know within the first fraction of a second whether or not the technique is going to be successful. So what you want to do is get your ego and your conscious plan out of your way as much as possible, and focus on getting yourself more and more responsive to that sense of opportunity. As you're rolling, when you're working a technique from a position, give yourself at most, again, 2 seconds to successfully pull off the technique. If you go for it and it fails, what you then focus on is the transition from that point to the next opportunity. If you're reaching for a collar choke from the guard and they stop your hand, that's not bad. It just means that the collar choke isn't happening. So you have contact with their arm. What can you turn that into? Can you pass to their back? Can you take the arm and do an arm crush or an arm bar, to name a few different jiu-jitsu techniques that might come up from there. As you're rolling, the less you can engage your ego, the less you can... What I mean by that is, don't go for the cheap wins. Don't go for the cheap thrills of, oh, I dominated in class today. Nobody could tap me out, and I tapped out some other people 4 or 5 times. Those really don't matter. I mean, I guess if it makes you feel good, great. But in the grand scheme of things, when you're talking about developing your technique to the point of becoming a black belt, those are, if anything, dead ends in your training. When you're rolling, focus on identifying your successes, training your body, your mind, your ego to really thrill in well-performed technique, in recognizing moments of opportunity and responding to them immediately while they're still there. Because the closer you get to that point, the closer you can harmonize your action to the moment of opportunity, the more successful you'll be. It's not about learning a new clever move. It's about that process of refinement. And that's what keeps us thrilled and engaged as martial artists. That's what translates over to everything else we do in life. That's why Jiu-Jitsu isn't just a tool for physical development and self-protection and competition, but actually a tool that we use to become more successful in everything. Our relationships, our work, everything. That understanding the flow of action and understanding that actions have ideal moments where they can happen. And And if they happen out of sync with those ideal moments, they can be less successful, unsuccessful, or even detrimental. A perfectly good armbar technique, flawlessly performed at the wrong time, will actually make you vulnerable to counters. So hold that thought in mind. The success isn't, I won, I got a tab. The success is, how well did I perform? Did I respond perfectly? Did I pass effortlessly? Did I submit them skillfully to the point where at the end they weren't overpowered or frustrated, but they were almost as thrilled as I was because of the flawlessness of the technique? That's true success, when you've really harmonized your timing and the moment of opportunity, and then your jiu-jitsu techniques are really able to shine. So as you're training over this next week, this is your homework. Just for 1 week, test it out, where the only thing that you're striving for in your training is to be perfectly responsive to the moment of opportunity. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this and find it useful for your training, and we'll see you next time.